Paddington Bear in Peru. What's that from?
You're really on a singing kick.
Confusing, isn't it? Because you thought Gladiator 2 because of the song, but actually we're talking about Paddington in Peru.
Except that Gladiator's coming out later.
Right. But, little sneak peek for you guys, we recorded both episodes at the same time.
No.
Similarly to how Lord of the Rings recorded Fellowship, Two Towers, and Return of the King back to back to back.
Hang on, I have a fact for you.
Maybe even front to back, or front to back to front. You don't know. We don't know what order they filmed those scenes in.
Okay, I watched this video recently talking about the beginning of Orlando Bloom's career.
Okay.
Lord of the Rings.
Yep. Pirates of the Caribbean.
Right after Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, yeah, Troy, and then...
Yep, and then Troy, and then there was one other one. But, like, the beginning of his career was crazy.
Yeah, does anyone think that he's the best thing in any of those movies, though?
No, but imagine being on those projects at the beginning of your career. How do you top that?
Yeah, you can't.
No.
Yeah. I guess he had a really good agent.
Yeah. So I just wanted to share that.
Along with that, I heard a review of Companion, and the guy reviewing it was like, this is the best I've ever seen Orlando Bloom act in my life. He's really good in this. And I was very surprised. And then I realized, oh, wait, that's not Orlando Bloom. That's Rupert Friend. Not Orlando Bloom at all. The guy from Death of Stalin who plays the son.
Oh.
Kind of looks like
plays
him.
the son.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
Like kind of harsh on Orlando Bloom. But
yeah.
It was kind of funny, though, at the same time.
Yeah. I think Orlando Bloom did a good job in Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, he's fine, you know.
But I mean, next to Johnny Depp in those, yeah, he's
and
not.
Barbosa, yeah. It's really those two that are the...
That's fair, but I still think he did a good job.
Yeah.
Anyways, sorry. Welcome to This Is Reviewable, everybody, with Mike and Braden. This week we are talking about Paddington in Peru.
Yeah.
And I think Braden's going to talk about Jackal.
The Day of the Jackal.
Yeah.
But we're starting off with Paddington in Peru. And this is another Paddington movie.
Paddington 3.
The premise of this is Paddington finally becomes a British citizen. He's got his passport. And then he hears from Peru, he gets a letter from the Home for Retired Bears that...
The Reverend Mother.
Yeah. Sends him a letter that Aunt Lucy is not doing... She's acting kind of strange and not doing super well. And she really
misses you.
Really misses Paddington. And... they decide that the Browns, the family, they're going to go to Peru and visit
Aunt
Lucy. And that's what they do. And it's, Paddington hijinks ensue. Well, I guess, okay, they get there and Aunt Lucy has gone missing. And so they need to go find her. So they end up
on a quest.
They meet up with this boat captain played by Antonio Banderas.
Mm-hmm.
Or is it Banderas? Banderas. He's Hunter Cabot. And they're trying to find Aunt Lucy. And it's a Paddington movie, so there's going to be lots of silly jokes. And Paddington is going to struggle with the most simple tasks, like getting into a hammock. Or
getting his passport photo taken.
Right. He's going to struggle with everything, and it's going to turn out ridiculous.
And it's funny.
Like it always does.
And it's so cute.
Yeah.
I will say, huge change. The mom, Mrs. Brown, is different.
Is a recast.
Yeah.
And we looked this up, and it's because the original actress wanted to move on from the project.
Which is sad.
She wanted to stop doing them, I guess, which is, it's a bummer. I guess she was tired of it. Which... remember that I said this, because we're going to circle back to this during the spoiler section. I guess there are some people that don't want to be a part of this universe anymore. But there are others that definitely want to still be a part of this universe. And we're going to circle back to this at the end. What did you think of this, though?
I thought this was a really fun movie.
Yeah.
I think it does justice to... the series.
Mm-hmm.
I will say at the beginning it's very jarring that Mrs. Brown is different, but
you get used to it.
Right away you get used to it. I think they recast really well for her.
I didn't find this really as funny. as the first two.
That's fair.
Apart from Olivia Colman and Antonio Banderas, they were pretty funny.
Yes.
I really liked Olivia Colman's character,
Yeah.
actually.
She plays the
Reverend Mother.
Reverend Mother of the home for retired bears.
And she's
in Peru.
so smiley and just in only the way that she can pull off.
Yeah.
The musical number was a little weird. I didn't like that part very much.
Yeah. When she's singing about Paddington coming to Peru.
Right. Antonio Banderas has some fun scenes as well. He's just fun, you know?
Yeah.
How can you not like him?
Well, his accent is great.
Right. But apart from that, like the interaction between Paddington and the Brown family, I didn't find it as funny this time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is what it is. But like there's definitely plenty of redeeming moments in this, if we want to call them that. There's plenty of funny moments that make up for the moments that don't land as well.
We kind of is this a spoiler? We kind of get a origin story.
Oh yeah, for where Paddington came from.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool origin story.
I loved it.
Yeah. What else? The scenery's great. Like it looks really pretty.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's the rainforests and the.
Oh, Mr. Brown has some huge developments. Has some huge things that he overcomes. You know, because he's super risk averse and always worried about risk because that's his job.
Right.
And at the beginning of the movie, his company gets acquired. And the new boss lady.
Yeah, weird cameo, by the way. Haley Atwell as his boss.
Yeah.
Playing an American for some reason in London. She's only in like 2 scenes.
Yeah, but she says calculated risk is good or something like that. So that's also why Mr. Brown is like, okay, fine, let's go to Peru. Like,
Yeah.
I need to be more open to risk and stuff like that. And so the whole movie, he's trying to pretend to be somebody he's not.
Yeah.
And by the end of the movie, I think he's found his equilibrium. But it was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. You know, a little bit of touching stuff at the end, which we can talk about in spoiler section. It's, you know, these are the Paddington movies, they're always heartfelt, they're always goofy and silly, and you're not missing out on any of that in this one.
Yeah. I will say the son story is kind of annoying.
Really?
Yeah. And I understand that he's like a teenager and it's supposed to be, you know, he's supposed to be like recluse in his room and all of that, but I mean, he just didn't fit the vibe, I felt like, for that.
Yeah. Okay. It's fair. Is there anything really to say about this besides that?
I love the concept that there's nuns taking care
of retired bears
in the jungle.
Yeah.
Like that's such a funny home for retired bears. What are they retired from?
Right. They're just bears.
Yeah.
They just roam around and eat. Yeah, that is funny.
And there are a few. I don't know how to say this without. I don't think it. Are we going to do spoilers?
Yeah, all the best stuff to say is spoilery.
Spoilers, yeah. Yeah, even though this isn't Paddington 1 or 2, I think that the story is still fun.
Yeah, it's still definitely one of the better kids' movies. I'm sure that you can show your offspring.
Your Rugrats?
Your heirs.
Okay. Just feels really short.
It does, doesn't it?
Okay, well, let's rate it and we'll talk about spoilers because truly the best parts, like Braden said, are in spoilers. We don't want to ruin this movie for you guys. It was still good. It's definitely worth watching.
Yeah. Although if you didn't like either of the first 2 Paddingtons, this is not gonna bring you in to the fold. So if you didn't like either of the first 2, yeah, skip it. But if you liked the first 2, then watch it because you'll probably end up liking this too. Okay, spoiler or whatever rating.
Yeah.
I think I gave the first Paddington like a 9.5 out of 10, and we still haven't watched the second Paddington for the sake of this channel.
Oh.
So we need to rewatch that. In my memory, it's just as good as the first one was. But if it's me doing the rating, if it's me reading the signs, what's that from, everybody in the comments? Tell us what that reference was. If it's me reading the signs, though, I'm going to give this an 8 I think. Yeah. 7.5 to an 8. I'll give it an 8. I'll round it up. So we're gonna give it an 8. What was that umbrella that he gets? The finest umbrella in London. Did Google just tell you a classic
Yeah.
marmalade umbrella?
Yeah.
Useless.
Union Jack umbrella?
No, he calls it like the Winsington Special or something. The Winsington 3000. I'm just gonna call it the Winsington 3000.
Okay.
8 Winsington 3000s out of 10.
I'm gonna rate this an 8.5. I think it does. I think it does well enough to give it an 8.5. Is it the best out of the 3? No, but I think I'm gonna rate this an 8.5.
Is it the worst out of the 3? Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna rate this an 8.5. Bracelets out of 10.
Okay.
I still really enjoyed this movie.
It's still really good.
Yeah, it's still really good.
If this is the worst, like
an 8.5 is still really good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Parents Guide. There is a lot of swearing. There is a lot of violence. There's a lot of sex. There is copious drug use, particularly by Paddington and Aunt Lucy.
You don't even want to know what the Reverend Mother is up to.
Right. This is actually rated NC-17. Which is maybe if you like the first two, maybe you really won't like this one. It's very different.
No, this is rated PG, I think. I don't think there's any language.
No.
I don't think there's really anything worth mentioning.
Totally clean.
Yeah. And I don't think it's scary for little kids. All right, spoilers.
What did I want to say?
Paddington apparently is originally from the city of El Dorado, which is so funny.
Yeah.
And so
he's an El Dorado bear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Aunt Lucy, apparently through circumstances that were out of her control, ends up in El Dorado. And so they go on a quest to find Aunt Lucy and end up finding El Dorado. And can we guess
what the gold is?
Yeah, what the gold is? Oranges.
It's an orange grove.
To make marmalade. And Paddington ends up showing his family herd, his family pack or whatever.
Clan.
Yeah, his clan, how to make marmalade, and they love it. And
so Antonio Banderas, the captain, turns out he's from a line that began with the conquistadors, and they're all obsessed with gold, and they're like cursed basically to see the ghosts of their ancestors and be obsessed with gold, so that he's fighting like this inner demon to
be
choose
a good dad
versus just hunting for treasure.
Yeah, so his whole line has been searching for El Dorado because of the myth of that it's a city of gold.
Right. And I actually called this, I don't remember when, but I called it that the Reverend Mother was
bad.
Well, not bad. I mean, yeah, like they don't really hide that.
Yeah.
There's hints from the beginning. The fact that she is part of that line, she's part of that family, I called that.
You called it when they went through Antonio's family line, and one of them worked at not a nunnery because he was a priest.
Oh right, he was a priest. Yeah, it was when
called?
They were sinking into the quicksand, and I was like, oh, I bet she's part of the line.
Yeah, what is it called for men?
The priesthood.
But like, there's a nunnery and there's a
mission.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that was good. That was fun. What else? What else is spoilery that's worth talking about?
I still think that it's really funny the way that the Reverend Mother acts, because she's like super mysterious and like super happy. And when the Browns get to the nunnery or to the retired bear home, she's like, "Oh yes, just go into the jungle." But I can't go into the jungle. And she's like looking off into the distance, and it's kind of like, okay, like, geez, like, what's your deal?
She has a secret spy room.
Yeah. And she's like, no, it's not a secret spy room. It's just a room that nobody knows about where I do surveillance on everybody.
But you almost feel like it's so obvious how suspicious she's being that it's a red herring.
Yeah.
But she is suspicious. Yeah. It turns out. And it ends well, and Paddington, you're worried that he's going to end up staying in El Dorado with the rest of his clan.
I kind of was so torn about that.
No, I think I was really hoping that he would stay with his family because, like, what he said, I was like, I had that thought as the movie was leading you to believe that maybe he was going to stay in Peru. I was like, yeah, like, but he doesn't know these bears. He didn't grow up with them. He grew up with the Browns.
Yeah.
They're his real family. And then he comes over to Mrs. Brown, and she's really sad, and he's like, I was wondering, Mrs. Brown, that I've put you through so much trouble, and I was wondering if maybe I could ask you to... And she's like, bracing herself for him
to ask to stay.
And he says, oh, could I come home with you? I was like, okay, good.
The whole time that he was saying that, because Braden that's shorter than how he says it in the movie.
Oh, yeah. He drags it out.
And yeah. The whole time I'm like, I hope he asks to stay, if he can stay in El Dorado. But I really hope he asks if he can come home. I really hope he asks to stay in and I kept going back and forth. I would be so happy if he stayed in El Dorado. But I really want him to come home. And then when it was decided for me, that was the right choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although I think for me personally, either one would have been the right choice.
I mean, only because Aunt Lucy was there.
Yeah.
That's the only reason.
I was sad that she stayed. I wish she would have gone home with them.
Right. But she's a bear.
I know.
She went back to the home for retired bears, which is her home.
Yeah.
That's her family. So yeah, I think that the writers knew where everybody belonged.
Yeah.
Which was good. One of the best moments, kind of sadly, some of the best moments of this movie all happened at the very end.
Mm-hmm.
So they decide to forgive the Reverend Mother, whatever her character's real name is. They decide to forgive her as long as she becomes a real nun. And
nun.
Yeah.
The
Reverend Mother.
The church forgives her or whatever.
Yeah. And so they drop her off in this frozen wasteland.
Tundra.
And she's like, where are we? And then there's this sign, and then a bunch of snow falls off the sign, and it's the home for retired polar bears. And she's like, no! Because she, like, admitted that she was sick of working with those mangy, stupid bears. And not only does she still have to work with mangy, stupid, retired bears, she has to do it in a hellscape.
Yeah.
That's a really funny moment.
Yeah.
And then Paddington's family comes and visits him in London, and that's really funny because there's just...
His bear family.
Yeah, the El Dorado bears.
Yeah.
They just are piling through the door of the little... It's a big apartment. It's a freaking huge apartment for London. But, like, not big enough to house 20 bears.
No.
But anyways, there's this part where Paddington is introducing himself to someone that we don't see. And then he introduces the rest of his family, and they all pop in, and he's given them names of other subway stations, other train stations in London. So he's like, this is Bakerloo, Central Circle, District, Hammersmith and City, Jubilee, Metropolitan, Piccadilly, Victoria, Waterloo and City.
And everybody's popping up as he's saying these.
Yeah. Just like, I don't know, it's just funny. It's Paddington humor.
Yeah.
And then the camera pans, and you see who he's talking to, and it's Hugh Grant from the second movie. And remember what I said about, like, people that want to stay in the universe of Paddington versus people that don't. Hugh Grant has said in multiple interviews that one of his absolute favorite characters he's ever played was
the bad guy.
Phoenix. What's that?
Yeah, Phoenix.
Phoenix what? He's not listed in the cast. And I looked this up on IMDb. He's not listed in the cast in IMDb.
Oh.
Which I think is so good. Because...
Oh, Phoenix...
Buchanan.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's not listed in the cast, and I'm so glad he wasn't, because it's such a pleasant surprise to see him. And he's so good at comedic timing in his old age.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he was good at it when he was young, but he's way better at it now than he ever has been.
Yeah.
In my opinion. And he's like, I've been thinking about it. I'm getting released soon. And Phoenix Buchanan headlining. Small venue. Phoenix Buchanan is Goldilocks. Who wants to be Daddy Bear? You. You can be Mommy Bear. Baby Bear. And he points at the littlest one. You. Come hither. And then he's like, so you went to El Dorado? Did you happen to find any gold?
And everybody holds out an orange.
And he's like, oh, that's disappointing. I don't know. He's just... It's a really good cameo.
Yeah.
It's really funny. I really enjoyed that cameo. I think this movie just ends really well.
Yeah.
Ends really, really well. Anything else?
No. I think it was good.
Okay. Let me take you to the next place where we would install one of your boxes. What's that from, everybody?
Oh my gosh.
It's very rare nowadays that I actually binge a show. Let me start off by saying that. Very rare.
For yourself.
Right. The last time, well, I guess it's happened twice in the span of 12 months, which is very unusual. Like, it's been years since I've really binged a show, I feel like. And I binged the first season of Fargo. It just, it just grabbed me and hooked me. I sort of did that with Fargo season 3, although that took a little bit longer. But every other show that we've talked about and watched on this channel, I have not done that with.
That you talked about for yourself, because you technically binged Landman, but I don't think that counts.
That was work.
Yeah,
I'm not calling that a binge.
Okay.
When I say binge, I'm saying you're enjoying it, so you just can't stop.
Okay.
So I'm happy to report that I recently binged The Day of the Jackal, and this came out beginning in November of 2024. It has 10 episodes, so it would have finished around January, right? 2-ish months.
10 episodes, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
Just over 2
November,
months.
December, January. Yeah. So it's brand new, and this is original. I think it's based, or not based, but inspired by a film of the same name that came out in 1973, and it's about a hitman. But this is set in the modern day, and it's also about a hitman, played by Eddie Redmayne, who you may know from Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, or The Theory of Everything, if you prefer, or The Danish Girl, if you prefer, or what else is he in? Or Les Mis, if you prefer.
The Astronauts, The Trial of the Chicago 7.
Don't remember him in that.
There's going to be a Fantastic Beasts 5.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, I think we covered his most famous roles. But he plays the hitman, and then Lashana Lynch plays a MI6 operative who is sort of trying to track him down. You will know her from Captain Marvel and also the latest James Bond movie. She's the one that took over the 007.
Apparently she's in the Bob Marley movie.
She's the one that took over the 007 code name, which people were upset about. Which I was too when I heard the headline, but they didn't turn her into James Bond. She took his, whatever that's called, alias, his designation, because he retired. That's why she's 007.
I think that's fine.
Anyway, she's in this too. And those are the principal characters. There's also Charles Dance in this series who plays Tyrion Lannister. Or not Tyrion, Tywin Lannister in Game of Thrones. The old man Lannister. But this is really, really entertaining. At first, the first episode, it shows Eddie Redmayne's character, the Jackal, assassinating somebody, and he kills a lot of people that don't need to be killed as a part of his assassination thing that he's doing. And if you've ever played Hitman, you know that that's not good. That'll lose you points.
And draw too much attention to you.
Right. You don't kill people that are not the mission. You only kill the target. That's it. And so that kind of bothered me at first. I was like, this guy sucks. Like, why can you not plan your mission a little bit better so that you're not having to kill all these innocent people? I got over that in the second episode. And
so it wasn't that big of a deal.
I mean, he still does it. He still kills a lot of people that don't deserve it. But you have to keep in mind that this guy has a very loose set of morals, So he's going to do whatever he needs to do to get the mission done. And it's just really well shot, really well edited. It feels very James Bondy. The theme song that introduces each episode is super James Bondy. And I ended up because it's always like someone singing and but it's really cool, and I ended up watching it like over half the time as I was going through this series. Watching
the whole intro
and not skipping it. Yeah. It just sets the mood, you know. And then some of the ways that he ends up killing people are just like, that sounds bad, but it's very entertaining. It reminds me of John Wick. If you remember in John Wick 2 when he's doing his planning to kill the mob boss in Rome, and he like meets with the tailor, and the tailor is making him a suit that's bulletproof, and then he meets with the sommelier who's actually a gun expert, and the sommelier is like telling him all these guns that he should take with him, and then he meets with the blueprint guy who gives him access to the catacombs and tells him where he needs to, set up, and like just that sort of excitement that's building and the logistics of how this sort of thing works. There's a lot of that happens in this series, except it's even cooler because his assassination target is going to be in this big auditorium. He has to somehow figure out a way to smuggle a rifle into this auditorium that's on heavy lockdown. So how does he do it? Spoiler, I guess. He meets this like master gunsmith, and they design this fake boot, like as if you had a broken foot, that Eddie Redmayne will wear into this venue, and you can take apart the boot and turn it into a rifle.
Hmm.
And it's just that stuff, like the build up to all of it is
and the
just
creativity.
Yeah, it's just really exciting and cool. And then there's another scene, without going into too much detail, where he has to kill someone from a boat, and from very, very long range, and the waves make it really rocky, very difficult, and he comes up with a super creative solution for how he's going to do that. And yeah, it's just exciting. It's slick. It's globe trotting, in the sense that they go all through Europe, so it's continent trotting, which is another reason why it reminded me of James Bond. It seems like in those movies they like are just hopping from place to place to place to place. That's how it is here. They're going everywhere, in this series. It's just really entertaining, and I'm excited for the second season to come out. I will say also the ending surprised me very much indeed. I'll talk about that in spoiler section maybe, but I will give I mean, for entertainment's sake, as long as you're not picking apart what a real hitman would or would not do, and that sort of thing, you will be entertained by this, as I was. And so at a certain point I sort of just turned my brain off to some degree, accepted, I took the hits as they came, and I just enjoyed this. So I'm going to give this a 9. I'm going to give it a 9 very clever sniper rifles out of 10.
Why do you think that was?
What do you mean?
That you were able to turn your brain off for this one? Because some of them you get pretty nitpicky.
Sure. Just because
you think it was just so entertaining that you didn't care about the other stuff?
Yeah. It was just done. Even like James Bond movies, the Spectre in particular, I really did not like Spectre because it just felt like a bunch of shit just thrown at the wall and hoping it would stick. This definitely felt planned out, even though, he's killing people that don't need to be killed. And would he really have been able to get away with what he's getting away with for so long, with some of the things that go wrong in this show? Would he really be able to get away with? I don't know. Maybe not. I think that they make it plausible enough for my what is it called? My suspension of disbelief to be maintained, and you can tell that they really crafted it, and they plotted out what's going to lead into what is going to lead into what, and all of that put together, combined with how entertaining it is, I really enjoyed it. Thought it was really good. Very different from Mr. In Between, another Hitman show. If I had to pick between them, I'm picking Mr. In Between. But
do you think that that's because it's Australian and it has more comedy?
No, that's just a completely different beast. Like Mr. In Between it's really like a human drama and a lot of comedy, right? But it feels much more grounded than this does. Mr. In Between does. But sometimes you just got to have a little bit of fun, and this was a little bit of fun. Oh, Parents Guide, lots of language. It's pretty violent as well, but pretty much all the violence is like shooting, so headshots and stuff. But like they're kind of gross sometimes. Yeah. It's a mature show.
Okay.
Spoilers. Okay, so you would expect at the end of this, based on how the show has been built, you would expect that Bianca, Lashana Lynch's character, is going to catch him at the end. Is going to catch the Jackal. And she basically does. But something goes wrong. The Jackal's brother-in-law shows up at his house at the very moment that they're raiding his house, and the Jackal is there. And because the brother-in-law is drunk and kind of an idiot, he pulls a gun on the two MI6 operatives, and they shoot him, and the Jackal hears the gunshots, and so now he knows there's people in the house. And because of that, it turns into the Jackal versus these two. And again, like, she's the good guy, quote unquote. She's the one that's trying to end this assassin's reign of terror, basically. And so you totally think that she's going to catch him. She does not. She gets killed, and her partner gets killed
by the Jackal.
Oh. And it makes sense. Like,
I kind of like that.
He's who he is. Like, they don't stand a chance against him, in a fair fight.
Especially if you were expecting her to catch him.
Yeah.
And that's the way that the season has been set up. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
And you didn't feel like it was too...
It's very subversive. And And the other thing is, like, one of the subplots is Bianca has a very strained relationship with her husband because her work is constantly taking her away from her husband and her daughter. And at a certain point, they leave.
Her.
Yeah, they leave her. And then she decides to quit MI6, and they come back. And this is where you think the show is going to leave off. But then her boss comes, and she's like... Turns out that her boss is sort of corrupt. And she is instructed by people higher than her, hey, get Bianca to go after the Jackal, have her kill the Jackal, and then we can deal with her, because they don't like the loose ends. And so she sort of manipulates Bianca into, okay, you can go and you can go and get the Jackal now, but it's completely unsanctioned, and you need to kill him. Being real sketchy about it.
Yeah.
At this point, Bianca has reconciled with her family, so you think, she's going to have, like, a happy ending.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. She dies.
That's sad.
Yeah. So it's subversive, and that's not the only thing. That's not the only time it's subversive.
Well, who were you rooting for in that moment?
You can't really root for any of these guys, because the Jackal's he's bad.
But who did you want in that moment to live before she died?
Like, if one of them had to die?
Yeah.
The Jackal.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
He keeps the show going, I guess. Right? And despite the fact that he's a bad guy, and he has killed people that he shouldn't have killed and definitely didn't deserve it, he's still pretty cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's Agent 47. And then even at the end, like, I was getting massive Hitman vibes from the ending. You saw the ending scene in Budapest.
Yeah.
He's like, he's wearing the sunglasses and whatever, and he's meeting the woman that originally hired him to perform the high profile kill. She ends up on the wrong side because, she's a loose end too. So they try to kill her. So she gets out, he gets out, and now it seems like they're kind of working together. So that's why it's really reminding me of Hitman, because it's the Hitman and the handler that are just basically by themselves. They're like independent. So yeah, it's really good. Really entertaining. Highly recommend. Go watch it. This is going to be a little different because we're not really theater people.
And it's not really in our description to talk about plays either.
No, but we saw Les Mis in Salt Lake City this weekend, and it was the Broadway production. So this is the big shebang. And what'd you think?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to worry about spoiling anything. The story's been around forever. So if you don't want to know the ending of this, just skip this part, okay? Because we're just going to talk about everything. Story of Les Mis. Jean Valjean is in prison. He's about to get released. He was in prison because he stole a piece of bread to feed his nephew and his sister.
Mm-hmm.
And he's about to get out on parole, and Javert is like, you're nothing. You'll always be nothing. You'll always be prisoner
601.
601. And he goes out into the world.
Mm-hmm.
And periodically throughout this story, Javert will meet Jean Valjean and be like, you're still scum. Like, at some point he did break parole, and Javert is like, you're coming with me. Like, you're going back to prison. You broke your parole, whatever. And Jean Valjean...
Well, it's because Jean Valjean became the mayor of that town, and then...
But he did break his parole.
Right, but Javert thought that he'd caught Jean Valjean because they found someone else, and then Jean Valjean is like...
has a guilty conscience about it.
Yeah, I love his character.
Yeah.
His character is just so good.
Human.
Yeah.
But human.
Well, but good.
Yeah.
Because he makes choices to break the law, but he makes them based on his
ethical,
on his true
and his ethics.
Yeah. That compass inside his heart, Pilgrim. What's that from, everybody? You follow that compass inside your heart. That's the quote. What's it from? But, he steals the bread, which is a crime, but he does it to save his sister's
son.
And then, after his 20-year stint in the Bastille, or wherever he is, I assume it's the Bastille, he comes out jaded, and he tries to find work, and he can't get work because he's marked, as a convict. And he just gets screwed over by everybody. And
long story short, ends up owning a factory.
Well, no, his view on the world is you got to take whatever advantage you can because life is never gonna be kind to you. And so the priest takes him in off the streets, and he steals from the priest and is caught. And then the priest is like, yeah, he claims that the priest gave him the silverware or whatever. And the priest is like, well, yeah, I did, but why didn't you take the candlesticks too? So that one act of mercy, like, just sort of flips his perspective, and he decides, wait, no, I'm a good person. I need to be a good person. And this informs every decision he makes throughout the entire play. How did we get started? Oh yeah, because he turns himself in.
Yeah, because he finds out that someone is going back to prison as prisoner 24601, and he's like, that guy's not prisoner 24601. I'm prisoner 24. So he shows up at the court and is like, guys, it's me. And when he's about to get taken back to prison, he finds out that this woman who... Fontaine, who he is kind of...
he took in.
Yeah, has tried to help in as much as he can. Finds out that she's about to die and she has a daughter, and Fontaine has asked Jean Valjean to take care of her daughter Cosette.
What are you, the innkeeper?
You're right. Cosette. And as Javert is about to take him, Jean Valjean is like, please, 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 just give me 3 days. I need to go get this girl and get her taken care of.
Mm-hmm. And Javert won't do it.
So he ends up escaping.
So he beats up Javert. And this is an interesting... because you've got Javert, who is also following his...
code of ethics and
right,
morals.
which is obey the rules at any cost.
Yeah.
Like, the rules are there for a reason. But he's not an unfeeling person necessarily, because he... there's that part in when the kid dies. I forget what the Gavroche or something, the little kid.
I don't know his name.
The revolutionary kid.
Yeah.
He sees the kid dead in the streets, and it really bothers him.
Yeah.
Even though this kid is a revolutionary. So, like, Javert is not an evil person either.
He's just very much so letter of the law.
That's his belief system, right?
Yeah.
And you sort of see, like, how they clash with each other, and they both claim to be following God, but which one is really following God and which one isn't, and maybe they both are, and
which one is correct in the way that they follow God.
Right. And then there's a lot of, like, themes of, does God even exist? Like, there's so many people that
are good people,
get no justice, and it's a complex, it's a very complex it explores complex themes in a complex way. I think at the end, if I had to guess, I would guess that Victor Hugo does believe that God is real and is good based on the end of the play, which is, that's fine, but I'm happy that he explored that theme fairly, right?
Yeah.
And didn't just
it wasn't just one extreme and the other, of here's this poor person that got screwed and here's this rich person that got all the, he explored a lot of different types of people in different circumstances.
Yeah.
With that idea.
Yeah. And we haven't read the book, by the way.
No, I need to find an abridged version.
Yeah. As far as the production goes, like, the music is awesome. The orchestra was really powerful. Everybody's voice was great.
Yeah. The casting that they did for this production was amazing.
Right. It's way better than the Russell Crowe Javert. As much as I love Russell Crowe.
You've never even seen it.
Yeah, I've seen his scenes though. I've seen him singing. It's not very good. Like,
I haven't seen that movie in like 4 years, I think.
And even Hugh Jackman, to tell you the truth, is like,
really?
Like, these guys are singers.
Yeah.
It's really cool to have a Javert and a Jean Valjean that can sing.
Have you ever heard the comparison between singers, like maybe they're like in a movie and they're singing, versus singers on Broadway?
No.
Just the volume of...
Oh, they can go way louder.
And it's like full.
Yeah.
Though I don't know how to describe it besides what they're singing. How they're singing is full. And these other singers, it's not flat. They're not singing flat, but it's just empty compared to... It's something to look up because when I heard that, I was like, oh my gosh.
That's awesome.
This play was also like, yes, this is a lot of very sad things happen in this.
Yeah.
But there was also a lot of humor, and the way that the cast performed this, perfect.
It's mostly the master of the house guy. Yeah. Right.
He's the innkeeper and his wife.
He's the comic relief. He's a piece of shit, but
he sucks.
You'll love to hate him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does a great job. He was unironically one of my favorite characters.
Yeah.
Just because he's such a dick and he's so good at it.
Yeah.
And then there were some special effects. Like, I wasn't sure how they were going to handle the Javert suicide, and it was really interesting how they did it.
Yeah.
Because he jumps from the bridge, and you're like, what, is he just going to jump onto the floor? Like, how are they going to make this look right?
In this play, he's just standing on this small wall. And like Braden said, you're like, how is he gonna... Yeah, that's gonna look goofy if he just falls on the ground.
Yeah, and then he jumps, and he was on a harness, apparently. And then they have a background, and the background is like watery, and he's just sort of like... And they're
pulling him backwards, kind of, to make it look like he's falling into the background.
Right.
And then he disappears.
It was really cool.
It was awesome.
And the sets were good, Yeah, it's... If you have the chance to go and see this live, do it.
Yeah. And we didn't even have good seats. We were sitting up in the third balcony.
Yeah, just bring your Zooms.
Yeah.
Your glasses.
And that was something that was kind of hard, I will say, is this is not... Like, this play is set over the course of, like, 20 to 30 years or something like that. And so Jean Valjean and Javert are aging. And because we were so far away and, like, we didn't have theater binoculars or whatever...
I had my Zooms.
It was hard to tell... who Jean Valjean was sometimes for me. Because he's aging and I didn't remember. Whatever. That was like my only complaint, really.
Okay. Yeah, but it's really good.
Yeah.
Should we rate it?
Yeah.
Freaking 10 out of 10.
Same.
10, do you hear the people sings? Out of 10.
Nice. I'm going to rate this a 10. Look Down. What's the name of that song?
Yeah, Look Down.
Yeah. Look Down out of 10.
All right. Done.
Awesome. Oh, Gladiator coming up.
Yeah. Gladiator, and then Micah read some books.
Yeah. All right. Have a great week, everybody. Bye.